So welcome to the IPSec section of this lecture. In this lecture, we'll configure IPSec between left and the remote site. So before we start, we should check if the routing is working, meaning that if I can ping the remote site from left and if I can ping left from a remote site. So let's go to the left firewall, to diagnostics, to ping. And let me check what is the remote site IP address. It's 12.13.14.2. So let me ping 12.13.14.2. And I can see that the ping is not working. Let me check my routing here, the static routes, and I will add another static route, 12.13.14.0/24. /24 should be added here. We'll use the home gateway, which is the 254, or even better, will not use that actually because I didn't configure the routes on the BGP router. So what should I do? I should go to gateways. I will add a new gateway and it will be called a remote gateway with the IP address of 192.168.0.253. Save. Go to static routes. I will add a static route here. And we will use the remote gateway for that. And we should be fine on the remote side. Now let's log into the remote gateway. Let me just take a look on the remote gateway to see if it is accessible, and it is missing the configuration. So we'll configure the interfaces. 12.13.14.2 slash, no, we'll not use DHCP. 12.13.14.2/24, no DHCP. Okay, perfect. And the LAN subnet for the remote gateway, it is 192.168.1.2, but this IP is already used in our network, so we'll use .10. So let's add an IP address for the LAN interface, 192.168.10.1/24. And what I will also should do here is I should assign another interface. This interface is EM2 and it is attached to my home router. So to do that, I will add EM0 for WAN, EM1 for LAN, and EM2 as an optional interface. Click yes. And I will configure the IP address for the this interface 192.168.0.250/24. No DHCP. Okay, now if you remember from our first lessons, I should disable the firewall. So admin, default password, remote, 8.8.8.8. We'll keep the IP addresses as we configured them, and we will use our password. We click reload. Quick fix on the firewall rules. I will enable anything on the WAN interface, and should refresh the firewall. This interface where we're receiving the traffic should be allowed all by default. And on the LAN interface, we will also allow all by default. I'll just create another rule here, and I will put it on top, but I cannot because I need to deactivate the anti-lockout rule. And go back to firewall rules, LAN. So we are all set. So as I said, in order to configure the IPSec, we should have end-to-end connectivity. So what I'm going to do is I will go to the routing tab under the system. I will create a default gate to the home network because I would need that. Also, to not allow me to add home network and not WAN, it's optional one. 2.168.0.1. I will accept that. This will be my default gateway because I need it in the next lessons. Okay, apply changes, and I will need to add another gateway, which would be the WAN gateway, and it has the IP 12.13.14.1. Save the changes, and I will create a static route which will point directly to WAN interface on the left pfSense, and it has the IP address of 200 192.168.0.200/32, and we'll use the WAN gateway. Let's try and ping the WAN gateway. 192.168.0.200. Actually, I would like to use the WAN interface to do that. Let's check again the routing here. And I have a route to the remote gateway. And it would look like that my ping is not working. So what I need to check next is the routing here on the Juniper router. Run show route. Let's see if I can ping the both gateways. I can ping one gateway and I can ping also 192.168.0.200 and I can ping it, which means that the routing is okay on this side, but I still cannot ping the 200 address. And I cannot ping it because if I go to the firewall on the rules, I'll have to add a new rule which will say that from the source network 12.13.14.0/24 to the destination WAN address to allow any traffic. So I'll go back here and try to ping. The ping now works, and if I go from here and try to ping the gateway 12.13.14.2, the ping works. So what we should do now is just start configuring the IPSec. IPSec is configured in two phases. It's phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 is IKey, and you can use IKv1 or IKv2. You specify the internet protocol, the interface where you want your tunnel to be installed, and the remote gateway. In our case, on the left, pfsense will add the remote gateway, the WAN address of the remote pfsense. You should have a password here. I will use ABC123, but in a real world situation, you should have a more secure password. I will select the encryption algorithm and I will select split connections. I will show you in a minute what this means. Now that the phase 1 is configured, we should configure the phase 2, and on the phase 2 we will specify the encryption domain. For example, we'll specify the which networks should talk with which networks. So here I will specify that LAN subnet should talk with this network here, which is the PC1 network. I will use the protocol ESP. The hash algorithm will be SHA-256 and the perfect forward secrecy group will be Diffie-Hellman group 14. And I will name it tunnel 1. And okay. Now we have our phase 2 connection configured. And the split tunnel from there means that for this connection, it will create a separate tunnel, and for the next connection that I will configure, which will communicate with 2.2.2.0 network, it will install another separate tunnel. and here is 3.3.3.0, and save, apply changes. Now what we should do is go to rules and go to IPSec because it is creating a separate interface, and we will allow all traffic to flow on this tunnel. Okay, we're done with IPSec on the left side. Let's go connect it on configure it on the remote side. So what we should do, we should use exact same settings that we used on the left pfsense. The password was abc123. Just double check abc123. I used IS256 and I used split connections. I should click save and configure phase 2. And in this case, actually I made a mistake here. Should remove all of this and add a new phase 2, and the local network should be 1.1.1.0, and the remote network is the LAN subnet on the remote. So 192.168.10.0. I'll use the exact same settings, and I will just copy the phase 2s, and I will add here 2.2.2.2.0. So I should use IS256 here, and I should correct this one also, because I want to use IS256 only. Okay, and 3.3.3.0, and just hit save and apply changes. Now we can continue configuring here, and here the remote subnet is 192.168.10.0, and the remote network here is this one time 256. Sure, okay, looks good. 2.2.2.0, and 3.3.3.0. Hit apply changes, and let's go to diagnostics and status, not interfaces but IPSec, and try to connect the tunnel. As you can see, the tunnel is established, and phase 1 is established, and phase 2 is also established. What we have to do is just to configure the IPSec to be unrestricted. Okay, now that we have configured this, we can go to left pfsense, just add the SSH into it, admin at 192.168.0.200 pfsense 1, and I will perform a TCP dump. So TCP dump minus NNI, the tunnel interface name is encryption 0. And let's leave this running, and let me just start PC4, and let me ping it using 1.1.1.1. It would say that the host is unreachable, 2.2.2.2. So for now, no traffic is flowing through the tunnel. Let's check the remote pfsense again and go to status, IPSec. And let's go to here to status, IPSec. Okay, the thing is that everything is looking fine here, and should be able to ping the IP addresses. Let me check just one more time the rule on the LAN interface, and I can see that they are unrestricted. Let me check the IP configuration. Okay, and I found the problem. 192.168.10.2/24, 192.168.10.1. I will save the configuration and I will try to ping again. And voila, we have traffic flowing through the IPsec tunnel. If we'll go to the status IPsec, we should see some statistics here. If we see the packets in and packets out, it is safe to assume that our IPsec connection is working well. So thank you for attending. I hope you liked this lecture so far. And if you have any questions, you can just add them in the comment section. Thanks.